The fog rolls thick across the Imjin River Valley, March 18, 1952, 02:30 hours. Corporal Michael Chen lies motionless in tall grass 40 meters from a Chinese supply depot, watching two sentries patrol a perimeter fence. The temperature is just above freezing. Chen has been in this position for 90 minutes, controlling his breathing, letting cold seep into his bones without shivering. At his hip, secured in a leather sheath custom-fitted by a cobbler in Seoul, rests a Fairbairn-Sykes Fighting Knife marked S1942, manufactured in Sheffield, England, a decade earlier. The weapon weighs 8 ounces. In 20 minutes, Chen will use it to kill both sentries. He has done this before. He will do it again. The knife came into Canadian military inventory through British channels in 1943. Originally designed for commandos and special operations forces, the Fairbairn-Sykes represents a radical departure from traditional military knives. Most military-edged weapons serve multiple purposes. They cut rations, open ammunition crates, dig fighting positions, pry open doors. The Fairbairn-Sykes does none of these things. It has one purpose, designed into every dimension and angle. It kills human beings efficiently and silently. The 7-inch blade is double-edged, tapering to a needle point. It will not chop wood or cut rope effectively, but it will penetrate between human ribs and puncture a heart with minimal resistance. This is not accident. This is intent. William Fairbairn and Eric Sykes designed the knife in 1940 based on 30 years of experience in Shanghai, where both men served in the International Settlement Police Force during the 1920s and 1930s. Shanghai in that era was among the most violent cities on earth. Fairbairn personally participated in over 600 street fights, knife attacks, and close-quarters combat situations. He studied every blade wound he encountered, documenting which attacks killed quickly and which merely wounded. He analyzed blade angles, entry points, cutting versus thrusting techniques. Sykes contributed weapons expertise and metallurgical knowledge. Together, they created a weapon refined by actual combat experience into its most lethal possible form. Chen received his knife in November 1951 at a training facility outside Seoul. The instruction lasted 6 weeks. Physical technique occupied the first 2 weeks. Chen learned the upward thrust, blade entering beneath the sternum at a 60-degree angle driving toward the heart. The motion requires specific body positioning. The attacker's left hand covers the victim's mouth, pulling the head backward to expose the target area. The right hand delivers the thrust using leg drive, not arm strength. Done correctly, the blade penetrates the diaphragm and pericardium, reaching the heart. Death occurs in 5 to 10 seconds as the heart fills with blood and stops beating. The victim cannot scream. The diaphragm is compromised. Only a wet, gasping sound emerges. The second technique is the kidney strike, approaching from behind. The blade enters horizontally between the 11th and 12th ribs, targeting the kidney. The organ is highly vascular and not protected by bone. Penetration causes catastrophic internal bleeding and immediate shock. The victim collapses. Death takes 30 to 60 seconds. This technique is less reliable for silent killing because the victim may cry out in the first moments before shock sets in. The third primary technique is the throat cut. The blade draws horizontally across the front of the neck with significant pressure, severing both carotid arteries and the windpipe. Blood pressure drops instantly. The victim cannot vocalize because the airway is severed. Death occurs in 15 to 20 seconds from blood loss and brain hypoxia. This technique is reliable but messy. Blood spray can mark the attacker and compromise concealment. Chen practiced these techniques 400 times on man-shaped dummies filled with sand and sawdust, positioned to simulate human resistance. The instructors, British commandos with combat experience in Burma and Malaya, emphasized that killing with a knife is categorically different from killing at range. You feel the person die. You smell their last breath. You carry their blood on your hands and uniform. Some men cannot do this. Chen discovered he could, though the psychological cost accumulated in ways he did not initially understand. The remaining training covered anatomy, approach techniques, and mission planning. Chen memorized the location of every major artery and vital organ in the human torso. He learned to move silently in darkness, placing each foot carefully, distributing weight gradually. He learned to control his breathing and heart rate during stress. He learned that successful knife killing requires absolute commitment. Hesitation is fatal. Once the attack begins, it must continue until the target is dead. On March 18, 1952, at 02:50 hours, Chen begins his approach toward the first sentry. The man is Chinese People's Volunteer Army, probably 19 or 20 years old, armed with a Soviet PPSH-41 submachine gun. He stands near a supply shed smoking a cigarette. The second sentry is visible 30 meters away, also smoking. Chen has timed their patrol pattern for 90 minutes. They complete a circuit every 12 minutes, converging at the main gate, then separating to opposite ends of the perimeter. Chen has a 4-minute window when the first sentry is alone and visually isolated from his partner. Chen moves through grass that is wet and cold, making no sound. He has removed all equipment that might rattle or reflect light. His face and hands are darkened with burned cork. The Fairbairn-Sykes is in his right hand now, held in an underhanded grip with the blade along his forearm, concealed until the final moment. His left hand is open, ready to clamp over the sentry's mouth. At 15 feet, the sentry senses something. He turns slightly, the cigarette a red point in darkness. Chen covers the final distance in 3 seconds. His left hand clamps over the sentry's mouth from behind, pulling the head back sharply. The sentry's eyes widen. He tries to raise his weapon. Chen's right hand drives upward beneath the sternum, the knife entering at the precise angle drilled into muscle memory. The blade meets resistance from cloth and skin, then slides through muscle and diaphragm tissue. Chen feels the tip penetrate the pericardium. The sentry's body goes rigid. A wet sound emerges from his covered mouth. Chen holds the knife in position, counting seconds. 5, 6, 7. The sentry's body relaxes. Chen lowers him gently to the ground, withdrawing the blade. Blood wells from the wound but does not spray. The entire event has taken 11 seconds. The sentry's cigarette lies smouldering in grass 3 feet away. Chen moves immediately toward the supply shed where he can observe the second sentry without being visible. His hands are wet with blood. The Fairbairn-Sykes blade is coated with it. He wipes the knife on the dead sentry's jacket, cleaning the blade. This is critical. A sticky blade can bind during insertion, compromising the next kill. The second sentry is more alert. Perhaps he heard something. Perhaps he's simply cautious. He's scanning the perimeter, weapon ready. Chen cannot approach directly without being seen. He circles, using the supply shed for concealment, positioning himself along the sentry's expected patrol route. At 02:57 hours, the sentry walks past Chen's position. Chen steps out behind him, left hand rising toward the mouth. But the sentry turns at the last instant. Their eyes meet. The sentry is starting to shout. Chen's knife hand drives forward, not the upward thrust, but a direct frontal attack, the blade entering the throat horizontally. The shout becomes a wet gurgle. Blood sprays across Chen's face and chest. The sentry drops his weapon, hands clutching his throat. Chen maintains the blade position, drawing it laterally, severing both carotid arteries. The sentry falls. Blood pools rapidly, black in moonlight. Chen stands motionless for 30 seconds, listening. No alarm, no response. The second kill was noisy, imperfect, but apparently undetected. He signals his team. 4 other soldiers emerge from concealment, entering the supply depot. Their mission is intelligence gathering. They photograph documents, note supply quantities, identify equipment types. Chen stands guard, the Fairbairn-Sykes in his hand, now sticky with drying blood despite his earlier cleaning. The team completes its work in 18 minutes. They withdraw before dawn, crossing back through UN lines at 0520 hours. Chen's after-action report is clinical. 2 enemy sentries eliminated with edged weapon. First kill executed per training, clean and silent. Second kill compromised by target awareness, required improvised throat attack. Successful, but noisy. Recommend increased emphasis on approach techniques to prevent target detection. What the report does not include is Chen's psychological state. That night, in his tent, he attempts to clean the Fairbairn-Sykes completely. The blood has dried in the grooves of the ribbed handle, and in the junction where blade meets crossguard. He uses a brush and solvent, working methodically. The knife was designed for this. The double-edged blade has no serrations or complications that trap blood. The smooth steel cleans easily. But Chen's hands shake. This is the 3rd time he has killed with this knife. Each time the physical sensation is identical. The resistance of flesh, the warmth of blood, the final exhalation against his palm. Each kill is recorded in muscle memory, replayed involuntarily when he closes his eyes. The Fairbairn-Sykes that Chen carries shows signs of its history. The blade, originally blued, has worn to grey steel at the edges from repeated sharpening. The needle point tip is slightly blunted, probably from striking bone during a previous use. The brass handle is tarnished and scratched, but the weapon remains mechanically sound. Post-war testing of similar knives from this era shows the Sheffield steel retains edge and strength even after extensive use. The simple construction, solid steel blade with a brazed-on handle, has no moving parts to fail. The knife's design reflects its creator's philosophy. Fairbairn, in his training manual Get Tough, published in 1942, writes that close-quarters combat is brutal and ugly. There are no fair fights. The objective is to kill the enemy as quickly and efficiently as possible. Sportsmanship is irrelevant. The Fairbairn-Sykes embodies this philosophy. The narrow blade profile reduces friction during insertion, allowing deep penetration with minimal force. The double edges allow cutting in any direction without blade reorientation. The lack of a guard means the blade can be driven completely into the target if necessary. Every design choice prioritizes lethality over other considerations. By mid-1952, Chinese forces have become aware that Canadian reconnaissance teams are conducting infiltration operations. Captured documents from May 1952 include specific warnings about knife attacks on sentries. One tactical directive instructs that sentries must patrol in pairs, maintaining visual contact. Another recommends body armor, though Chinese forces have limited access to such equipment. Some units implement improvised protection, heavy quilted jackets reinforced with metal plates, designed to defeat knife thrusts to the torso. Chen encounters these countermeasures in August 1952 during a mission near Kumhua. The target is a Chinese communications post. Chen's approach is perfect, the sentry unaware until Chen's hand clamps over his mouth. But the upward thrust meets unexpected resistance. The blade enters but stops after penetrating only 3 inches. Chen realizes the sentry is wearing armor. The blade has deflected off a metal plate. The sentry is struggling, beginning to vocalize. Chen's second strike targets the throat, not the torso. The knife severs the carotid. The sentry's cry becomes a gurgle, but the damage is done. Nearby soldiers have heard. Chen's team withdraws under fire. They escape, but the mission is aborted. Chen's after-action report is blunt. The knife technique failed due to unexpected body armor. The attack should have targeted an unarmored area initially. The error was Chen's, not the weapon's. Recommend updated intelligence on enemy protective equipment. This incident represents the fundamental limitation of knife combat. Unlike firearms, which can defeat body armor through velocity and projectile design, knives rely on mechanical advantage and technique. A blade cannot penetrate steel plate. Success requires targeting vulnerable areas: throat, sides, back of neck, femoral arteries in the thighs. These targets are smaller and more difficult to strike consistently. Yet knife attacks continue because they offer capabilities that firearms cannot provide. Silence is absolute. A suppressed pistol still produces sound, approximately 120 decibels, audible for hundreds of meters in quiet conditions. A knife produces no sound except the unavoidable noise of physical struggle. In certain tactical situations, this silence is essential. Chen's missions require approaching within meters of enemy positions, often with dozens of Chinese soldiers nearby. A single gunshot would alert everyone. The knife allows killing while maintaining operational security. The psychological dimension is significant. Chen's diary, written sporadically throughout 1952, reveals increasing difficulty reconciling his actions with his self-image. He was raised in Vancouver, attended university for 2 years before enlisting, considers himself civilized. But the missions require him to approach unsuspecting men and kill them with his hands, literally feeling them die. The disconnect between civilized self and lethal action creates stress that accumulates over time. In November 1952, Chen requests transfer to conventional infantry. His official reason is that his language skills are no longer needed, as Chinese forces have improved counterintelligence. The actual reason, apparent in his diary, is psychological exhaustion. He has used the Fairbairn-Sykes 11 times in 13 months, each kill recorded in memory with complete sensory detail. He cannot continue. His final mission occurs December 4, 1952, near Chorwon. A Chinese artillery observer is directing fire from a concealed position. Chen's team is assigned to eliminate the observer and destroy his radio. Chen approaches the position at night, alone, while his team provides overwatch. The observer is in a camouflaged foxhole, monitoring a radio. Chen drops into the foxhole behind him, left hand over mouth. Right hand drives the Fairbairn-Sykes upward beneath the ribs. The observer dies in 8 seconds. Chen destroys the radio with thermite grenades. The mission is successful. Chen's technique is perfect. But sitting in the foxhole with the dead observer, Chen realizes he can remember every previous kill with absolute clarity. The Chinese sentry outside the supply depot in March. The soldier at the communications post in August whose armor deflected the blade. All 11 men, their faces at the moment of death. The specific resistance of each body, the temperature of blood. These memories do not fade, they accumulate. The Fairbairn-Sykes is retired from Canadian service in 1970, replaced by general-purpose knives that can serve multiple roles. Military doctrine shifts away from specialized commando operations toward conventional forces structure. The specific skills required for silent sentry elimination become less relevant as warfare evolves toward firepower and technology. Chen survives the war, returns to Vancouver, completes his university degree, becomes an accountant. He does not speak about his service. The Fairbairn-Sykes knife, authorized as personal property, remains in a locked drawer in his home. In 1989, during a veterans reunion, a young officer asks Chen about special operations in Korea. Chen's response is quiet. He did what was necessary. The knife was an effective tool. He does not elaborate. In 2003, at age 76, Chen donates his Fairbairn-Sykes to the Canadian War Museum in Ottawa. The knife is displayed with other edged weapons identified only by its designation and dates of service. The museum label does not mention that this specific knife was used to kill 11 men. That information exists only in Chen's diary, which he burns in 2004, 1 year before his death. The Fairbairn-Sykes represents a category of weapon that exists in moral ambiguity. It is designed explicitly for killing, with no secondary purpose. Unlike rifles or machine guns, which can be rationalized as defensive weapons, the Fairbairn-Sykes is purely offensive. Its optimal use requires approaching an unsuspecting victim and killing them before they can react. This is assassination, not combat in the traditional sense. Yet in the context of war, particularly special operations behind enemy lines, Such weapons are necessary. Chen's missions produced intelligence that saved lives, disrupted enemy operations, contributed to UN military success. The knife was simply a tool that enabled these missions. Whether this justifies its use remains an individual moral judgment. What is historically clear is that the Fairbairn-Sykes performed its designed function with extraordinary efficiency. The weapon's record in Korea, across all Canadian Special Operations units, includes dozens of confirmed kills with 0 mechanical failures. The simple, robust design proved reliable in conditions ranging from summer heat to winter cold, in mud, rain, and dust. The knife did exactly what Fairbairn and Sykes intended when they designed it in 1940, informed by their Shanghai experience. On March 18, 1952, at 02:52 hours, in fog and darkness along the Imjin River, the knife did what it was designed to do. Silently, efficiently, lethally. Corporal Michael Chen did what he was trained to do. The sentry died. The mission succeeded. War continued, nothing more, nothing less. The silent blade.